Hello friends, sorry I'm a bit naked. Not really. Really, let's be honest. These days people are walking around with fucking nothing on. What's a top between two friends? Anyway, last 4 days, yeah. Well, I haven't posted for a bit. What's been happening really? And the most important thing that, I want to reveal to my amazing community is that sometimes fluffy ducks don't always shine out your ass. Yeah, it just doesn't happen sometimes. Sometimes you wake up and you don't feel fucking great. Sometimes life feels a bit heavy. What you want to achieve feels fucking taxing, like it's actually never going to happen. Life's never going to eventuate. Your dreams and aspirations slowly fall away and you are left with dust. Ultimately is sometimes how you feel. And between you and me, I think that's fucking normal. I think that, the last 4 days I've been going through some, revelations and understanding of self. One of them being, I'm obviously in a long-term relationship, and we have a really, really, really fantastic relationship. We have a very supportive relationship. We hear each other, we communicate, and don't get me wrong, this has taken a long time to get to. Obviously, we're very different people. What I like in a relationship and what she likes in a relationship sometimes don't correlate. However, what's really important is that we both respect each other and what each other brings. So the most important thing with merging as a unified couple and living separate lives is that when you come together, you're able to appreciate and respect what each party brings. Now, with saying that, I'm digressing and I do apologize, but I'm on this role right now. So with saying that, your partner may be a person where you totally fucking disagree with and they're talking a load of shit and you don't really fucking get it. That happens and I understand that. And ultimately in the past, what I would say or what I've done is I have rebutted against that. But what essentially is required in that place is the ability for the person to be seen, heard, and loved. Now that can take a really difficult amount of strength to conjure up. Don't know if that's a word, but we're going to go roll with it, and be able to produce that in that moment. And sometimes when a partner says, hey, I need space or I need to walk away or they just need alone time, do yourself a favor, fucking give it to them. Because if you don't give them that time, 100%, they're just going to make your life hell and they're going to make the situation and the conversation and yourself even harder. So just allow that person to do whatever it is that they need to do. Now, once they've had that time and they come back and they argue the same point that you actually have no reason or rationale to even understand or even think it's the fucking truth, at the end of the day, it's their truth. And you acknowledge it. You swallow your pride, you swallow your ego, and you allow that person to be heard and seen. Now, let's say, for example, you're with a person that doesn't understand your needs, or might think that you've got a lot of attention required, or that you're hard work or anything like that. If I was you, I would obviously, and each relationship I think has a requirement of giving each other a benefit of the doubt. Like, okay, you're gonna speak your truth, then they respond accordingly. Do they match you with that requirement that you originally asked for, or do they keep continuing to play this other side? And then from there you go, are they actually hearing me at all? Because the same situation keeps arising. Now, if that same situation is arising and they still think you're hard work and you're difficult, to be honest, I'm going to be brutally truthful with you. I don't think that you're they're the right person for you, because ultimately, whether you're hard work or not, your needs are fucking important. What you feel is important. What you want to see and feel in a relationship is important. So being judged as to it being too hard or your hard work doesn't really work. you know what I mean? Because then you're basically having to compromise yourself, and ultimately that just creeps in underneath your skin, and then slowly but surely you just become resentful. And in the long term, you may have right now you might have a suitable relationship, you know, but in the long term, I'm pretty sure, guaranteed, that that relationship will just start grinding like sandpaper, and then before you know it, you know, you've invested 30 years or 20 years or 15 years in a relationship, and you've actually gone, well, I'm still beating the same fucking hammer and the nail is still not going in, so what is the point? And going back to relationships, one of the biggest things that I have loved, my partner was away on a retreat, and you know, I had a lot of things come up that I needed to talk about, and you know, we kind of talked a little, you know, for a long time really, and sometimes we went around in circles, but the most gracious thing that she offered me was that space to be able to be heard, and I felt truly seen in that moment. And I think that's the key in any relationship, is that you have the ability to surrender into the moment, no matter what the argument is entailing, that you're surrendering into that moment. And you know, if you're a guy that, you know, potentially finds women highly emotional and you can't connect with them on that level, or maybe you're a girl and you find some guy highly emotional and you can't connect to on that level, I can only recommend to you that whether you do it with this person or you do it with someone else, ultimately, you know, being able to appreciate the other person and give them the time and the respect for them to be heard and seen will ultimately ever make you grow even more as a human being. Because in the world of corporate, for example, you know, let's say you're continually going up against someone that you fucking detest, like you absolutely hate them to the core of the bone. Now, I'm going to say to you that, because I can connect with this as well, I've had lots of experiences in lots of areas, is that when that happens, ultimately there is something in this for you. And you know, my partner would say something like, you spot it, you've got it. And yes, that is true. There is an element of the truth to that. However, sometimes it goes a little bit deeper. And I think when these things arise in your life, and a bit like a relationship that's not working, you can choose to say, hey, this isn't working for me because you're this and this, and that might be fair enough, because you've continually showed up and they're not seeing you and they're dishonoring you and they're disrespecting you and they're not giving you what you want ultimately. But if you are with someone that you know, kind of ticks the boxes, but you know, maybe missing some of the points, I would totally encourage you to go deeper in yourself to see how you can harness yourself as the greater being that wants to grow, to see how you can connect with them on that level, to get them to understand what you're trying to do. Because most of the time what we do is we go, why can't you see me? I'm fucking needing some love. You're not seeing me. Oh my God, I asked you to do this, blah, blah, blah. And we come from a reaction space. And then ultimately what the person is going to do is they're going to go, fucking hell, why are you yelling at me? Calm down. You're an overreactor. You need to calm the farm down and just go for a walk or something. And they just basically shut down. And as soon as you get a shutdown from someone, you can say goodbye to any resolve. And that may happen, and then you can come back together and you can apologize. And even if they have been a person that hasn't held you in the esteem that you would like to, you have an opportunity to surrender and say, hey, I really want this relationship to work. I'm sorry I reacted. Can we talk about this? This is how I'm feeling. You come from a place of, when you do this, I feel like. And so therefore, I tend to shut down, reject, you know, describe what you do when those situations occur and how it makes you feel. And then ultimately, they have a choice. You know, if you're coming from a place of love, obviously always centering yourself into ability to surrender and speak from your heart, and they're still reacting to you, you can always say to them, is there anything that I can say to you right now for this conversation to continue, for this conversation to find peace, for this conversation so I can be heard? Is there anything I can do so I can be heard in this conversation? Because once you ask that, then they can then decide, well, is this conversation important to them or not? And if they're deciding this conversation, and whether you're important really, and if they're deciding it's not important to them, it's kind of an indication point as to where they're at an emotional level, and where they're capable of actually being able to achieve or be what it is that you want in a relationship. And it's a bit like a seesaw, you know. There's a bit of this, and there's a bit of that, and there's a bit of this, and it's back and forth scenario until you start to get really clear as to whether this person can be what you ultimately want and for each other, which is to be loved, to be seen, and to be heard. And yeah, so that was pretty much what I wanted to talk about today, even though I didn't really have a clear understanding, but that's what I've said. It's about relationships, and it's about ultimately being able to surrender to situations that you think potentially you might have more esteem in, but also ultimately you want a relationship with someone. There has to be an ability to surrender to that moment and be able to be there in totality, rather than you fucking did this, fuck you, I deserve this, blah 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 blah. It's being able to hear that other person out, because at the end of the day, whether it's a valid excuse as to what they did and how they did and blah blah blah, you're in a partnership, so it's important for your own self-growth. Yeah, I hope that has value. I'm not sure if it does, but I have enjoyed being here with you and talking to you in my bra with my dog. Hey dog, there's Drake here. Until we meet again, be cool. If you like what you hear, see, feel, all the good stuff, you can absolutely join the tribe by loving and subscribing and saving and sharing, whatever ticks your boat. Until we meet again.